LCO Nagad, welcome. We have 7 panelists and 56 attendees, so I think we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to the fiscal year 21 kickoff meeting for COTTA, and let's get it started off on the right foot and ask if Deputy Chief Brian Warner would mind saying the blessing for us.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me, Kevin?
Yes.
All right. All right. If everybody will, bow with me, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, Lord, and we especially thank you for this time of fellowship and the many, many blessings that you give each of us. Lord, we ask that you be with us throughout this meeting, be with us throughout when we conduct your business, Lord, out in the world. Lord, we ask that you fill our vessels with your kindness, your patience, your wisdom. Guide us, Lord, to help find your will, Lord. Help us to remain balanced between logic and emotion, Lord, as we move. Lord, we ask that you watch over those who have been affected, Lord, by COVID-19 or any other illness out there, Lord. You know what them and their families need. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Well, Deputy, hang on and we'll let the Principal Chief speak. And then if you have additional words, we'd love to hear from you. I will tell everyone that this is being recorded in case some folks can't catch all of it. We will post a video so that other organizational leaders can watch it. Anyway, so let's bring on Principal Chief Chuck Hoskin to say a few words.
Well, Kevin, and it's good to be with everybody. I can remember a year ago we had the kickoff. I think it was at the venue, Kevin. So that was back when we could gather in person, and we look forward to those days again. Those days aren't now, but fortunately we've got the technology and we've got the staff that can utilize it, and we're able to engage in this manner. Now, I believe even in the best of times that community organizing and the community organizations that are the hub of our communities across the 14 counties and indeed across the country, I think it's important. It's particularly important. We're in the midst of the worst public health crisis in living memory. And when we're dealing with that, trying to keep each other safe. And what we've learned through the crisis is that some of the ways we've been the most effective has been working with our community organizations on things like food security, getting food out to elders, getting public health information, setting a good example, which I think is something that as community leaders, we all must do. And the folks that are on this seminar today are doing that. I know you're doing it, and I appreciate it. So even in the best of times, we need to be about community organizing, and in these times, we especially need to. Now, CCO is a department that I have admired since I was on the council. It's gone through different iterations, but it's always been a department that has been relatively small in terms of staff and really relatively small in terms of the overall budget of the Cherokee Nation, but it does so much. And I've always admired the effort put forth to put resources out into the community organizations and then see what the community organizations can do with those resources. And you all do, I think, incredible work. Under Deputy Chief Warner and my leadership and the leadership of the council, and with your help leading in your communities, we put more resources, I think, at any time in the history of the Cherokee Nation to community organizing and to building up the community buildings, for example, and to providing operating funds. We were doing that before COVID hit and the federal dollars came. We had committed a significant amount of money, I think something on the order of $7.5 million over 3 years to improve community buildings. And we're still in the process of doing that. Just in recent days, we celebrated solar panels being put on top a couple of community organizations. That gets a great deal of attention, but what is just as important, doesn't get enough attention, are the appliances that are going in other community buildings and the other smaller efforts that still have a big impact, smaller investments that can make an impact on your carbon footprint, on your energy use, because we know if we can save you money there, you'll put that right back into your community. There's lots of other ways that we can help And I think the most important way we can help is to get resources to you, get your grant proposals back, take a look at them, get the resources out the door, and watch the great things happen. So we want to be there to help you. We want to be behind you in what you do in the communities. And I think it's more important than ever that you do that work in your communities, that you do it safely. And fortunately, we've been able to provide some federal funds to help you do it safely or address other needs. But I want you to know that I think a great deal of this department, CCO, I think it does a great job. And I think a great deal of what you do. And I think together we can do some very impactful things for people who aren't on this call, the people that are in your community that without your help and without some help from the Cherokee Nation from time to time, they would live sometimes in the shadows, or they would not be connected to their culture, or they would have a feeling of being alone even though they should be a part of a community. I think we can address the needs of those citizens, our brothers and sisters in those situations best if we have community organizations leading the way. And we want to continue to do that. And tonight's kickoff is another opportunity for you all to get involved even more and to harness some more resources to your organization. So Kevin, that's all I have, but I certainly appreciate the time this evening. Widow.
Widow, for the kind words, Chief, and for your leadership. It's been very valuable to us as Cherokee people. Deputy Chief Warner,
Yes.
would you like to say a few words?
Yes, sir, Kevin. Thank you. And Chief, thank you for those words. And I know that, you know, the things that you do day to day, not everybody gets to see that, but I think one thing, Chief, that comes out and everything is the heart that you have for the Cherokee people and the heart that you have for the communities. For that, I say, well, don't, from me, from my family, and from my community where I'm at. And, you know, I want those that are on the call to remember that, you know, you're going to see some familiar faces that you've worked with before in CCO. You're going to see some new faces that you have. And I'm proud to see this team come together, because the things that the communities have been able to do, not just during the pandemic, but pre-pandemic. And I can't imagine what we can do after this, because of the resilience that we're all building up, working together in that spirit of what it is to be Cherokee. It's going to be outstanding. And look at this team and think about what the things that you're wanting to do, because this team of folks at CCO, they are a strategic leadership team. They've been doing this for a while, and they've seen things that have worked. They've seen things that have not worked. And I can't be more excited to be able to have this type of leadership team at CCO, and everybody there is so valuable. Everybody brings a different skill set to the table. And, you know, we're looking for those positive, progressive outcomes that are out there. And when you see those in work, it touches the smallest thing. And the smallest thing that we can do, remember, that is key in turning that big wheel. And you know, and as we look to do these things, sometimes we find there's projects that we just can't quite get done this year or next year, but all little pieces of that phase work together. And it's outstanding to be able to see what you're doing in your communities. I can't wait till we get outside of this pandemic world that we live in, to where we can come, we can do more visiting, we can get back on a regular schedule. And folks, I do believe that it will come someday, that we'll be there. But while we're in that waiting for that, that doesn't mean that we don't strategize. We don't see how we can improve and take these new tools of technology that, quite frankly, have been there for a while, and integrate those into what we're doing, because the world is ever changing. But one thing that doesn't change is God's love and the heart of a Cherokee. And that stands for each and every one of us. So thanks be to God. And Kevin, I appreciate you and your leadership. I appreciate your team. Each and every one of you, you guys are doing great work, and I'm very happy to be supportive of what you do. Thank you.
Widow, Deputy, yeah, we definitely appreciate it. And you guys, you know, CCO, we're a great team, and we go to great lengths to try to keep up with you too. The administration is very forward thinking, and we appreciate it. Next, I would like to ask Secretary of State Tina Glory Jordan if she would like to say a few words.
Yes,
First,
ma'am.
I'd like to say how happy I am to see the participation for tonight's meeting. I'm proud that you took the time out of what I know is a busy life to join us in this webinar. I want to thank Kevin and his team for putting together this meeting. I know that these are trying times as we try to reach out to people in this pandemic, and it's good to see that we have such participation across the country. Hopefully tonight, you will, what the takeaway for you will be tonight, it will answer some of your questions on how we can help you to engage in your community. And again, thank you for your participation.
Hello, Secretary Jordan. Next, we have Chief of Staff Todd Enlow, and he would like to talk a little bit as well, please.
Good evening. So a couple things I'd like to touch on is we've all addressed that, we're in the midst of the pandemic that we've all been dealing with for the last 7 months, and today is no different. In the state of Oklahoma, we are number 7 out of the 50 states as far as number of cases, and today we had 1,364 new cases in the state of Oklahoma, which is our second highest amount since this pandemic hit the shores of the United States. And so I was kind of optimistic a few days ago. Our numbers were kind of trending down a little bit, and I thought we may be seeing the back end of a little bit of a surge. But with today's numbers, it tells me that we've still got some work to do. So, just the normal things that you guys hear every day, it doesn't hurt to reinforce that, is wear a mask, wash your hands, and socially distance or physically distance from one another as much as possible. I'm a huge believer in the mask, and I think everybody in administration and the council are believers of it as well. And one of the things I do want to emphasize too with the community buildings, it's good that we can come together virtually, but we all want to get together and socialize with friends and family, and we want to be respectful of that and try and do as much as we possibly can virtually. It's still not really safe for us to gather in large groups. What tends to happen is that if people get a little bit lax, and actually with CDC, they often say that a hug is worth 15 minutes standing next to somebody. So even a quick little hug to say, hey, thinking about you, or good to see you again, and give them a hug is equal, same amount of time as standing next to somebody for 15 minutes. So as far as use in the community buildings, we've been using those for food drives, but we don't want to open that up and have a slew of people coming in there. We want to keep our head count down as low as we can, still be effective in helping out our communities, but not gathering in large groups. And so, thank you guys for your assistance and keeping up with that and making sure that we stay safe. So, Kevin, with that, I'll turn it back over to you. We're done.
So we appreciate that. We have one more person that would like to talk before we get rolling on the meat and potatoes of this meeting, and that is our newest employee at CCO, and that's Sammy Eagle, who is our newest volunteer coordinator for CCO and the volunteer program. So Sammy, with that, would you like to let us see your face?
Hey, can you hear me? All right. I just want to say hi to everybody, and I'm honored to be here at CCO. I'm a coordinator with the volunteer program here, and I'm looking forward to getting out in the communities and visiting with all the community organizations, and hopefully down the road we can begin implementing plans for volunteers within the communities and within the organizations, maybe working with some local churches, whatever we got to do to get some folks active within the community. The Cherokee people's always believed in the spirit of Gadugi, and I believe we can get back to that during this time of the pandemic that we've been in. We've seen the best come out of people helping people in ways that maybe they didn't do before. And in trying times, as they've said that it's hard to keep the Cherokee people from getting out there and getting engaged and helping people, and because that's what we've always done. And I know in this time that's what we want to do, but we got to learn to do it the right way and the safe way. So I hope to be able to get to visit with y'all in the future, and maybe in the next weeks and months. I'm going to try to contact the organizations and see if we can set up some sort of meeting safely, however we got to do it. And I really believe that we can make a big splash in this deal, and we're blessed to have the whole CCO organizations behind this program. And I know the administration is behind it 100%. And maybe we can help, with financially to get some projects done. And there's just a lot we can do, and the sky's the limit, and I'm just tickled to death to be a part of it. Thank you, sir.
Well, Sammy, he's a humble guy, and he worked with the Bellefonte organization, and he hails from Sallisaw, but we don't hold that against him, do we, Deputy?
No, sir. Sammy's a good asset, and just happy that you guys have welcomed him in, and he's got a really humble heart, and he listens to God's will for sure.
Okay, so now I would like to turn it over to Savannah Smith, who is going to get us started. Savannah.
So I'm Savannah Smith. I am still considering myself the new person. I started in January, and so I'm still learning everything that we do with grant applications. So I'm going to kick it off for us tonight. I'm going to be talking about the new organization sub-award. I'll start off talking about the COTTA New Organization Award. Now, I do want to say, if you guys have any questions, we have a Q&A section located at the bottom of the Zoom. So if you have questions, you can post them there. We'll try to get to them at the end. Or you can email, me, Brad, or Vince. So who is eligible? Organizations residing within the Cherokee Nation Reservation. They have to be operated by a 51% or greater Cherokee Nation Citizen Board of Directors. They must be a formally organized nonprofit organization, and they must show a desire to work with CCO and CCO programs. So this is COTTA, History and Preservation, Volunteer Program, and Cultural Outreach. And they can be brand new organizations or organizations that are new to working with COTTA. So some of the projects that we fund has to be like computer software and technology, additional training not provided by COTTA, office supplies, costs to achieve their 501c3 status. So as a new organization, you can apply for the grant while still working on getting that status. Implement or maintain programs. You can use this for fundraising equipment, 10% for overhead, 5% for annual meals, or other projects that we approve. Subawards on this grant are up to $3,000. So during the year, so once you've applied and you've received the grant, we do provide training, leadership development, organizational development, program development, collaboration and community engagement, evaluation, and effectiveness. So some of the required documents for this award application, you have to have a completed application, a projected budget for the upcoming year, organization bylaws, and they must state that your organization is operated by 51% or more Cherokee Nation citizens. Tribal membership cards of elected board members, complete contact information for all elected board members, and a list of meeting dates, times, and the place for the upcoming year. And then we also have to have a signed Cherokee Nation W-9. So this is a budget table. This is just kind of an example of what you're going to be using your money for. So when you fill this application out, you're going to have an idea of what you're wanting to get. So it's very basic. It's not very detailed. And then on this next one here is just a budget form. So once again, this is even more basic than the previous one. So you're basically just listing them out for each of those that you're needing. And then right here at the bottom, you will add in your organization name. This right here is a budget narrative. So this is the one that we're going to be looking at. This is to be super detailed. As you can see, if you're needing printer toner, we would like for you to put what kind you're going to get and then what you're going to use it for. So this has to be very detailed. And this is, like I said, this is the one that we're going to be looking at to make sure. And when we ask that, you follow this as much as you can. So whenever you fill out your application, you put that you want a printer toner or a wireless keyboard and mouse, you will be required to submit receipts. So at the end of the year, well, really every month. So every month you're going to have to submit some type of finance report. And within that month, if you've, as you can see, purchased a wireless keyboard and mouse, you will submit this receipt for that amount. So we will have to have all of your receipts by the end of the year. So a couple things to remember: if it's going to be over $500, you need to send quotes from 2 or 3 different sources. We don't do, so no direct supplies. So anything that you are buying to give to somebody else. To submit this grant, we prefer you do email submission. You can submit in Microsoft Word, Excel, or Adobe. You need to have your name of your organization in the subject line, have all of your documents scanned and sent as one attachment. And everything will need to be emailed to cco/grants@cherokee.org. So for the new organization grant, there is no deadline for submission. The grant will be funded as long as funds are available. If you have any questions, contact us. I'm sure most of you guys have our contact information or know how to find us, but our emails are listed here. If you have any questions about any of the grants, we'll all be working on them.
Well, thank you, Savannah. Man, just looking over the list of attendees, it's good to see everybody that's here. There's a bunch of people on there, a lot of names that I would be shaking hands, hugging, but in these times, we have to be very cautious, and we will eventually get back there. I mean, Cherokee people has always prevailed, so we will get back there eventually. But right now, let's talk about the COTTA grant. So there's going to be a lot of things similar to what Savannah was talking about, a lot of similarities. And what the COTTA grant is, it's a capacity building grant. Now, capacity building, sometimes people get confused as to what capacity building really is. Well, it depends on who you ask as far as the definition of capacity building and what capacity building will be. But you can look at capacity building as an umbrella that encompasses a lot of things. First of all, capacity building, it could be operational capacity building, programmatic capacity building, financial capacity building, leadership capacity building. These are just very, very vague, but capacity building is something that's going to help the sustainability of your organization. It's going to strengthen your organization so you can continue to make an impact out there, positive impact out there in people's lives. That's what capacity building is. It is It's going to strengthen the organization's mission over time. It's a process. It is a constant process, as learning is. Learning is a lifelong process. And what we are looking to do with this COTTA grant is the continuous improvement, I guess, the continuous improvement towards the future of your organization. So that's what this grant is really aimed to do for your organization, is to purchase the things that you need as an organization to help you function, building your capacity. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the COTTA grant. Go ahead and share my screen here. All right, the COTTA grant. As I said, there are a lot of things that are very similar to what Savannah already talked about. So we will just kind of brush over those really fast. Organizations within the Cherokee Nation Reservation, 51%, plus Cherokee Nation citizen, as evidenced by the blue card or the photo ID. Must be a formally organized nonprofit organization and have a desire to work with CCO programs such as COTTA, History and Preservation, and so on. Returning grantees. The first one is no remaining funds from your previous year's grant. All files need to be closed out before any more money will be given. Now, I understand that there's, with everything that's going on this year, it's a little bit different this year, but that is still one thing that's going to stand. I know that there's organizations out there that are still trying to spend their money, and that's fine. However, no more new funding will be given until all the old funding has been spent. And you are welcome, very welcome, to go ahead and fill out an application and send it in, but just know that no new money will be granted until all the previous money has been spent. And we're looking for people that are prompt and accurate in reporting on your grants, looking at satisfactory time completion of previous projects, and once again, the desire to continue to work with CCO. As I said, it's a capacity building grant. And what we're looking at is some of the eligible things are computer software, office supplies, fundraising equipment, pretty much anything, as I said, that will help your organization succeed, help your organization promote the sustainability, strengthen the sustainability of your organization. So tables, chairs, office supplies, getting your 501c3 status, fees that go with that, fundraising equipment. Now, we mentioned that there are no direct supplies, but you can get fundraising equipment, popcorn poppers, t-shirt, screen printing equipment. Some organizations have done that. 10% for your overhead. So if you're getting $7,500, that would be, of course, $750 towards your overhead, your utilities, and pretty much everything else. 5% for your annual meal, and still up to $150 a month for landline, telephone, and internet. Communication is key today, and with everything going on, we still want to try to social distance as much as possible, but still be able to get business done. So this thing, this grant will actually help organizations do that. Some of the training that we provide deals with leadership development, organizational development, program development, and so on. Now, if there's anything, a specialized training that we can't provide here at CCO, and people that actually give trainings, let us know. Let us know. We may be able to allow that expenditure in your COTTA grant for them to actually come to your organization via Zoom, or actually if things start looking up and we start doing meetings again, come to your organization. But yeah, other trainings that we can't provide, they can be an allowable expenditure, but please check with us first. The required documents are the same as Savannah talked about, so I won't really go through all of these. Pretty much A through M is the exact same documents needed for the COTTA grant. Now we have the logic model. Now this kind of throws people every year, but you know, it's really not that difficult once you think about it, you know. But you know, if you need help filling out this particular logic model, that's something that we could also help you with as well. That's what we're here for here at CCO, is to help your organization. So one way to look at it, let's go on the first row. We're just going to do the first row, and you can see the rest for your reference. Input. A way to look at input would be the money that you're getting, and the money that you're getting for this grant is the CCO grant funds. And as you can see, that's always going to be the input for this particular grant. The activity is what you're going to buy with the money. The output is what say you buy something, what is that going to do for your organization? What is that going to help your organization do? And the short term and the long term, it's all very different for each organization. But just whatever you're purchasing today, think about the outcomes in the future of what this is going to help your organization do. So that's the logic model, pretty much in a nutshell. And as I said, if you need help with anything, filling out some parts of the application, please feel free to contact us. Moving on, we have a budget form, the same thing as Savannah had as well. But before we move on, let's take a look at B, equipment. So we got $3,675. Let's go ahead and go on to the next one. So we have equipment, okay? And we had $3,675. Now the way that we were going to fill this out is pretty much, what do you plan to buy that is going to make up the $3,675? And for instance, we're going to buy a printer, multifunction printer here, and it's going to be $600. And as with everything that has to do with this grant and the new org grant, anything that is over $500 will have to have documentation, quote documentation, as a backup. For instance, if you're purchasing tables and chairs, if the amount of chairs, the amount of tables that you're going to purchase, the overall total is above $500, you still need to provide documentation to back that up. So you still need to provide a quote. And to provide a quote it's very simple, it's very easy. And that's what we're going to do on this next page. Say, for instance, on this printer right here, what we're looking for, that's what we're looking to purchase. This is just straight off of Amazon. As you can see, it's $599.99. So we would like at least 3 quotes. If there's anything that's going to be over $500, we would like at least 3 different quotes. So we're going to provide 2 quotes for this particular printer tonight. CompuBiz, this one is a little bit cheaper, $594.99. And whenever you're purchasing all of these things, please take into consideration the amount of shipping and things such as that to get it to your organization as well. Include that with the overall cost of the printer. So that is pretty much, well, actually, no, it's not. A couple more things. We know that with everything going around, things happen. And, you know, sometimes a wrench is thrown in our plans, and we have to make modifications. We have to change the way we do things. And we here at CCO understand that. It happens. It's happened a lot this year with a lot of organizations. So we allow 2 budget modifications for the COTTA grant during the grant cycle. So if at any time you think that you need to purchase something different than what you have listed in the grant that will help your organization grow, make a budget modification. And it's real simple. All that you have to do is email us, say that we have this set aside, this much set aside for this. We're not going to purchase this. Can we purchase this for this amount of money? And then send it to us. And if it's an allowable expenditure, yes, we will approve it. And just remember that each organization is allowed 2 budget modifications per year. Once again, no direct supplies, no construction. No construction is allowed on this particular grant. Brad has actually gone over a couple more grants where construction is allowed. And that pretty much, yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. The COTTA grant, it's the deadline for it for submission is Friday, November 6th, 2020 by close of business, by 5 p.m. Email submission is preferred, submitted in Microsoft Word, Excel, or Adobe. Once again, scan all documents and send it to our email, cco-grants@cherokee.org. So with that, I am going to go ahead and give it to Brad Wagner, who's going to talk about community work. And once again, it's good to see all of the attendees here. And I hope one day that we could all just get together and just visit and just have a good time. But until then, Digidoc Festi, Brad, give it over to you now.
Welcome everybody. We very much appreciate their support. And I'm going to go over the community work and sustainable communities grants. If I can get my slideshow going here, there it is. All right, so Vince and Savannah have talked about our capacity building grants, and I am going to talk about our, all right, so Vince and Savannah have talked about our capacity building grants, and I am going to talk about our construction grants. The first one I'm going to talk about is the grant that we've had for quite some time now, which is our community work grant. Many of your organizations have taken advantage of that, and it's been something that we're very proud to help community organizations with. So we're going to get right into it. The community organization grant is for organizations within the Cherokee Nation Reservation with a 51% plus Cherokee Nation citizen board of directors, and who have worked with COTTA for a minimum of 2 years and shown satisfactory project management capability. And so what that means is that community work is for organizations that have got our new organization grant as well as our COTTA grant. So they worked with us for a couple years. You must be a formally organized nonprofit and must show a desire to work with CCO and CCO programs. Returning grantees, things that we consider are promptness and accuracy in reporting on previous projects, satisfactory and on-time completion of previous projects. Also, we look at when was the last time that you completed a major project. Has it been in the last 5 years? We're not going to do more than one completed major project, new construction in the last 5 years. And we can discuss what is considered a major project. If you have questions about that, you can get a hold of us. And again, the desire to continue working with CCO and all of our programs. Eligible projects are community purpose and community support projects, basically anything that can better your community. These projects or buildings must be under the control and management of a Cherokee community organization. They may not put Cherokee Nation in a relationship with another government. Basically means we don't work on buildings or projects that are owned by cities, counties, states, anything like that. Projects must be on Cherokee Nation trust land or land owned by the organization or leased long-term by the organization. The types of projects for this are community buildings, parks, cultural historical sites, community building rehab or remodeling, community service site for special populations, and economic development for a nonprofit community-owned enterprise. Community building and infrastructure. The projects must have adequate land space for water, sanitation, and parking. We recommend that this is at least be 3 acres. The site must pass all DEQ requirements. We'll have Cherokee Nation Water and Sanitation usually comes out and does perk tests for septics and things like that. So that's what we're talking about there. They must have completed successful review from Cherokee Nation's Environmental Department. The projects should be budgeted out in phases, meaning we normally don't complete a project within the first year since there's limited funds for this grant. Normally we do the project over 2 or 3 years. You must have 2 or 3 bids for these projects, meaning you have to go to 2 or 3 different contractors and get bids. This just shows due diligence and it also guarantees that your prices that you're getting are competitive. We would like to look over the contracts and have everything in place before you start building. The required documents for the community work application are detailed drawings, plans of projects with bids for material and labor. The detailed drawings also help you get bids. It helps make sure that the contractors that you're having bid are bidding on the same thing so that you're able to compare apples to apples. Another thing that we'll need is a copy of the land deed or long-term lease showing that you either own the land or you're leasing it from Cherokee Nation or however that land works. We'll need an organizational budget, financial statement for the most recent year completed. We'll need proof of the organization's nonprofit status, a list of all current board members with copies of tribal membership cards or photo IDs and full contact information. One of the most important things is that we have a list of your board members, that we're able to get a hold of them. We're able to have a good contact for your board. A signed Cherokee Nation W-9, a copy of signed and up-to-date organizational bylaws, a copy of your most recent state and federal tax returns. You'll need a letter of support from the CCO director, your district tribal council member, and a letter of support from a community partner. You'll need a notarized copy of your board meeting dates for the next calendar year as well. Something that's new that I've highlighted, we will require a deed restriction for projects on non-Cherokee Nation owned land. Email submissions as a grant are preferred, as the new organization grant, as well as this one has no submission deadline, but funds are limited, meaning this will be on a first come, first served basis. So you'll need to submit your application to us by email, CCO grants-grants@cherokee.org. We prefer that you would scan all the documents and send them as one attachment. This just helps us to be able to keep them all together better. So that's the community work grant. Something that this is our second year doing is the Sustainable Communities Grant, which comes from the Chief's Housing, Jobs, and Sustainable Communities Act, which was just started last year. Like Chief said, we've already been able to hand out funds for some of these projects. We would like to see more organizations apply for this grant. It has a lot of the same requirements as far as documents as the community work grant. except for the fact that these grant funds are available to organizations within the Cherokee Nation Reservation that operate a Cherokee community building already. So this can be used for several different things for folks who already have a building. Again, they must be formally organized nonprofit organization and desire to continue to work with COTTA. Questions about eligibility should be directed to the email that you've seen several times, cco-grants@cherokee.org. Eligible projects for this grant are projects that increase the efficiency and sustainability of Cherokee community buildings. Some examples, replacement of appliances. If you have old, outdated appliances and you need new ones that are more efficient, that's something. New HVAC systems, new lighting. A lot of folks are going with LED lighting, doors and windows for new, more efficient versions. So anything that will increase your building efficiency and lower your energy cost. Additional insulation and weatherproofing are also eligible. Green energy projects, such as you heard the chief mention, some solar projects are eligible projects as well. Again, if you're unsure if your project qualifies, you can email us at cco-grants@cherokee.org. All righty, I'm going to hand it back over to Kevin. Well, thank y'all for being with us. And what else?
With Brad, with Vince, with Savannah. And I appreciate all that they do, as well as all the employees at CCO. We're a small staff. We have large impact. So I want to talk a little bit about the Respond, Relief, and Recover grants. So we're nearing the end of that application period. This virus, this pandemic has hindered a lot of operations. It has been one of those that comes in the middle of our grant period. And so we have community work grants, we have COTTA grants, and some of the community work grants, as well as this new sustainability grant that came out last year, we were able to use some of the federal dollars, the COVID relief money, for these same projects. So we weren't able to use everything. So we had a period where not only did we shut down for a while, and then we're still at this phase 3 alternating team effort. So that has slowed all of Cherokee Nation down. And so in the meantime, we've been trying to pick those funds with the treasurer's assistance, those purchases that could be used for this Respond, Relief, and Recover grant. So that has been a little bit something that we're not used to, that we had to deal with quickly, and that's still ongoing. A lot of organizations that have applied have received money. Some are still pending, and some are starting to receive sustainability money, and we've finished out the year with the community work money. So it's been a difficult year in order to get all these grants organized and then the proper funding given to everyone. So just kind of giving you a little idea of what we were up against this year, and we appreciate your patience for sure. So all of these, and I'm talking specifically about the COVID relief funds. They're federal dollars. It's the Respond, Recover, Rebuild grant from the Cherokee Nation. All of these projects must be completed and the receipts turned in by December the 15th. So these are federal grants, and your organization has signed a contract to these. And because they're not under Cherokee Nation oversight, but federal government oversight, then abuse is subject to federal prosecution. So it's very important that you not only turn in your receipts on time, but you also spend the money that that was on your application, or if you applied for changes that would be allowed, changes that were allowed. So you have to contact us. We would contact the treasurer. If you want to deviate from your application, we don't encourage you to deviate from your application because time is short, and trying to get all these projects done by December the 15th is a monumental task. So the receipts will not go to CCO. The receipts will turned in at, as you can see on the screen, the CRF grants at Cherokee.org, which will go through the finance department. So you receive the application from us, but the receipts need to go straight to the grants department. So use this link. We want to make sure when you do send receipts or have any correspondence to your grants that you put the grant name and the grant amount on each of these submissions. So if you turn in some receipts now, some receipts next month, some receipts in December, every time you want to have your grant name and your grant amount. Okay. So this is the only way we can keep track of all of these grants, because not only are there grants for the some 55 organizations in Cherokee Nation, but there are also, 25 organizations that are at large, as well as all of the other huge projects that the Cherokee Nation is doing with the federal grant dollars. Cemetery funding is now going to be supervised by Mary Stevenson. So we want to make sure that when you fill out an application, if you need an application or you need to turn in a receipt, you send that to Mary Stevenson at Cherokee.org. So COVID-19 is real, folks. I know that the Chief of Staff spoke to it earlier, but we want to reiterate this. We must protect one another. The community buildings should remain closed to gatherings, even outside. CCO is offering some sanitization equipment. The Cherokee Nation is providing some of it, and each organization can apply for it, and it will be approximately $2,000 worth of supplies and equipment. We will charge your organizations if you have not received funding for that to purchase it yourself. Then if you want it from us, we would charge you $400 per your organization fee that would come out of next year's COTTA grant. So keep that in mind. So if your organization wants this equipment, wants these supplies, then you feel free to contact me and we will get that delivered to you. So with that, wear a mask, stay home, wash frequently, and everyone stay safe. Toda dago hai, wadon.